y'all. All right, I'm gonna wait a little bit for people to show up, and then we're gonna get started, y'all. Hey, I'm gonna go ahead and do Facebook Live as well, so just kind of hang tight. We'll be right there. We're gonna get started in just a few moments, everybody. Hey, I'm waiting for a few more people to show up, and then we'll get started, okay? See you in a little bit. Hey, pumpkin spice flavored depression. Hey, girl. Yes, it is me. I was your teacher in your computer class, and you did say it was self-advertisement, and you were absolutely right about that. Um, because I want to let you all know about my book. So I'm waiting for a few more people to show up, and then we'll get started in about 1 minute. And I'm going to go on Facebook Live as well. So I just wanted you all to know that. So we'll get started in just a few moments. everybody. I'm glad to see that you all are on here. I hope you all are staying safe. I am Tatiana. I am the owner of Honey Tree Publishing, and I'm in Louisville, Kentucky, and I'm the author of 7 books. And one of my books is When Hip Hop Met Poetry. It is a short film, it's a song, and it's also a book. So I'm actually going to be sharing a little bit of the book with you all, just some selected chapters. I have also, hey everybody, I'm seeing some comments there, and I'm glad to see you all. Y'all my family. I love y'all. And y'all my family on my Instagram side. The family tree gets large, okay? Let's just say that. But I'm going to share a little bit of the book with you all. I did just release the official trailer of the book. It is available on YouTube, on my YouTube channel that I just started. And I also will have my official film, the short film that's going to be premiering. It's going to be a world premiere on Friday at 7 p.m. This Friday on March the 20th. So I hope that you all are able to, definitely check it out. We filmed it in pretty much less than 24 hours, from about 5:30 in the morning until about 9 p.m. And, it basically covers a lot of the different places where, in the book, a lot of the scenes take place, a lot of what happened takes place. So just a little bit about When Hip Hop Met Poetry. And I was trying to get Facebook Live started, but it's not acting right today. So we're not going to do that. So, yes, AOA, I see it. Yes, finally, I'm getting the film out. I've been kind of holding on to it because I just wanted to do a tour, a city tour with my book, and I didn't want to really release it yet. So I'm finally releasing it. I feel like this is a good time, and just to kind of get the word out. So I'm going to go into what the book is about. Let me go ahead and get set up a little bit, and then we'll get started. Okay. Trying to get it all set up, y'all. Bear with me. And I had to take my battery out the clock because it makes noise. So I had to, turn that off. So if you see that it's on 12 o'clock for a long time, that's why. Okay, so When Hip Hop Met Poetry, it's an urban love story. And it's about my life when I was a teenager. It's a true story. And it covers the story of Rashad and Genesis. I changed everybody's name in the book to protect everyone's privacy. And my mom just joined. Hey, Mama, Cardinal Beauty Supply. Thank you, Mama. I love you. I appreciate y'all. So this book is about Rashad and Genesis. It is an urban love story about 2 teenagers who fall in love. Their families are at war with one another. And they are just dangerously in love. They can't get enough of each other. So that's what this book is about. And we'll go ahead and get started. When Hip Hop Met Poetry, an urban love story by Tatiana. True story. We were a real life Romeo and Juliet. Bonnie and Clyde even. The whole world was against us. But we were inseparable. We were in love. That crazy kind of love too. Real talk, we were the poster children of bad boy from the streets meets good girl from school. And the story, well, it's definitely one to remember. I'm gonna chill, y'all. I'm gonna sit back, put my legs up. Okay. The heat from the Sunday morning sun was like a furnace in my grandma's rust-colored 4-door BMW. We sat parked on the side of the street as Grandma finished a Marlboro Light cigarette. We were headed to church but took a detour to my cousin Robert's new apartment where he lived with his girlfriend Monique and their newborn son. I was always excited to go to church, so I wore my favorite outfit, a white shirt, blue jean overalls, and matching cap that hooked into one of my belt loops. As we sat in the car, the suffocating temperature was unbearable. I couldn't wait to open the door. My mind wandered into the street as beads of sweat streamed down my face like raindrops. Gazing out the windshield, the heat wave made squiggly lines and ripples across the houses and cars. "When we get out the car, make sure you lock that door, baby," explained Grandma in a soft and serious tone. She didn't notice I was melting in the passenger seat beside her, but I was spending time with Grandma, and anytime I was with Grandma, I didn't complain. We were thick as thieves. "Okay, Grandma," I responded, wiping my forehead with the back of my hand. I knew what she meant by those words. We were in the hood, and even though we were from there, we could never be too safe. Grandma turned off the engine and strong-lipped her cigarette that quickly became a yellow nub. Slowly inhaling, a cloud of smoke filled the car and floated out the windows. The cigarette sat between two scissored fingers that held a long ash that only a chain smoker had the skills to make. That kind of ash doesn't have the courage to drop on its own. She took a final drag, tapped both fingers together, thumped the ash out the window, and exhaled. We rolled up the windows with a black knob that turned like a wheel, locked the doors, and headed out the car. As soon as we arrived at the front steps, the door swung open. "Hey, Mama," greeted Cousin Robert. He hugged and kissed Grandma on the cheek before turning to me. "What's up, Applehead?" He grabbed me playfully for a hug and planted a hard kiss on my forehead. After entering the living room, Grandma and Cousin Robert walked to the back of the apartment while I sat on the couch to watch a TV show until my attention was pulled to loud voices coming from outside. When I reached over to the window to draw the curtain back, I saw 3 teenage boys walking in the street. 2 of the boys wore oversized white tees and baggy denim jeans that sagged to show their boxers. The third boy wore the same sagging jeans but with a black hoodie. Watching from the window, one of the boys noticed me, made a joke that I couldn't hear, laughed with one of the other boys, and slapped hands. The third boy shook his head with a half smile, did a special goodbye handshake, and walked up the front steps to my cousin's apartment. I hurried to pull the curtain closed and sat back against the couch before he walked through the front door. He walked into the living room, wide-legged, knees slightly bent and hands deep in his pockets. The hood from his sweatshirt covered his eyes. I could barely see his face as he passed by me on the couch. No words, no acknowledgement. Someone just sent something, said Applehead. That's my nickname. Acknowledgement. All the boys our age wore designer cornrows, do-rags, and throwback jerseys, but his style and walk told me that he didn't follow the trend. He lived in his own world and by his own rules. Reaching over to a nearby table, he picked up a video game controller and plopped down on a separate couch to play GameCube. The simple jingle from the game was the only noise in the room until Grandma peeked around the corner to check on me. "You okay in there, baby?" Grandma peered into the living room from the kitchen. She must have heard the door open. Grandma didn't miss nothing. "I'm okay, Grandma," I quickly replied to put her mind at ease. "All right," she said, eyeing the boy suspiciously before returning to her conversation. We sat in the same living room on 2 different couches with silence between us. The boy didn't look up once, but I watched him carefully. His oversized black clothes, the way he slouched on the couch, and the intensity in his sad, almond-shaped eyes. I wanted to know him, but the feeling and interest didn't seem mutual. I was invisible. Grandma must have sensed how I was feeling when she said, "Come in here and play a game with us, Cuppy." I had a lot of nicknames, but Cuppy, short for Cupcake, was my favorite. It felt good to be included after being overlooked. We played the board game Trouble at the kitchen table. It was me, Grandma, and Monique. But when Grandma and my cousin broke away to talk in a different room, I couldn't wait to ask Monique a question. "Who's that boy in the living room?" "Oh, that's my brother Rashad," she answered dryly. "He's staying with us for a little while." I wondered why he was staying with them and not at home with his mama. I turned around in my chair to get a better look at him. He looked like he was around my age, but a little older. He reminded me of one of those bad boys from a thug movie that I wasn't allowed to watch, or an urban novel that I wasn't allowed to read. While Grandma and Cousin Robert talked, Rashad joined us in the kitchen, but only looked at and spoke with his sister. They played the board game while I secretly admired him. Rashad was medium-sized, stocky built with brown skin and a tough exterior. Just by the way he looked and talked, I could tell he wasn't from our world. He was from the streets. After the game, Monique and I went into her bedroom to check on her sleeping baby. I couldn't wait to tell her how I felt about her brother. "He's cute," I shyly confessed. I couldn't contain myself and keep a secret. I was a giddy 13-year-old girl, a new teenager with a crush. I mean, I had little crushes in the past, but nothing like this. I never told someone that I liked the boy. It was always the other way around. Monique looked at me in shock. "Rashad?" I nodded quickly with a smile. The surprise in her eyes softened and her lips shifted into a slight grin. The newness of the feeling lingered in the air until Grandma said it was time for us to leave. "Not yet, Grandma," I thought. I didn't want to go. My stomach was queasy and my hands were achy from being nervous. Forget the flood of butterflies in my stomach. I had an army of grasshoppers jumping in the pit of my gut. The feeling was new and overwhelming. I wanted to feel it all day, but when it was time to go, it was time to go. and I knew better not to question Grandma when she was ready to go. As we walked back into the living room, hugged and headed toward the front door, Rashad sat on the couch and went back to how he was earlier, silent. But I had a plan. Typically, when I ignored boys, it made them pay me more attention. So I acted like I didn't care that Rashad wasn't looking at me and ignored him. But he still didn't pay me no mind. Walking closer to the front door to leave, I wanted him to notice me, to look up, to show some kind of interest, but he didn't. When we got into the car and headed for church, I couldn't stop thinking about him. He's so different, I thought. I hoped to see him again soon, but little did I know I wouldn't see him again until 1 year later, not until the next summer break. That's the first chapter, everyone. I hope you all are enjoying it. So that's the first chapter of the book. I'm going to read a couple of other chapters, and then if you all have, any comments, I can add you to the screen. I know everybody probably got their pajamas on and stuff. So throw on a nice shirt, keep on the pajama pants. No, I'm just joking. But so I will go ahead and read a couple of other chapters, and we'll go from there. It was a Friday night, and Mama was working late at the hair salon again, which meant I was home watching my 6-year-old brother, Christopher. Mama had been working all day long styling hair while we were stuck in the house. While I'm gone, don't open the door for nobody, said Mama. Even if it's family, don't open the door. Typical instructions. She was what you'd call overprotective and didn't put anything past nobody. I guess it came from the danger and crime that she lived through as a teenager going back and forth from Detroit to Louisville. She wanted to protect us, then knew the ugly side of life all too well. Mama was robbed at gunpoint, done wrong by people she loved, and left to find her own way in the world at a young age. She was determined that her only daughter and son would not experience what she had. She wanted more for us. While Mama worked, me and Christopher always found something to do. We watched TV and played board games like Candyland and Sorry. And when we got super bored, we used our imaginations and made up our own things to do. Christopher played with his Pokemon cards in his room while I pretended that I was a famous actress in mine. I sat on the corner of my bedroom dresser and made funny faces as different characters. I imagined starring in my own original comedy series inspired by The Tracy Ullman Show. That was me and Mama's show. Other times, I sprawled out across my pink canopy bed with book passed down from one hand of one girl to the next. It was my turn, and no one was going to stop me from reading the new release, not even Mama. She would never have let me read those urban teen love stories had she known the drama and language in them. All my friends were sharing the juicy details of the book in the lunchroom and car rider line. Books of all sizes and colors were sprinkled across my bed like candy. I had a lot of good books too, but that night, I was reading the newest one, Fly Girl by Omar Tyree. Aunt Cynthia loaned it to me for the weekend, and I was already halfway finished. It was a black novel about teenage love. I opened the book, closed my eyes, and breathed in the paper. You're not a real book lover until you smell the pages. If the book was real good, the first 2 lines yanked me right from where I was and into the page. I was in the character's world now, the invisible best friend to the main character, the girl in the shadows of the book in between the words on the page. The reality was, the things that the characters had, the house parties, boyfriends, tight clothes, and sassy attitude, I never could. I imagined swapping lives with the main character instead of being the invisible friend. I escaped my world through their lives. After finishing a chapter, I closed the book and lay across my bed looking up at the ceiling. I couldn't stop thinking about Rashad. He reminded me of the bad boy character in my favorite books. There was something resting deep in his eyes. I needed to know him. The rush, the pull of his world, the danger, all so new and close. I needed all of it. But this time, I wouldn't be living through a book. This time, I would be the main character in this real-life story. I picked the book back up, opened the dog-eared page, and finished where I left off. And after reading a couple of sentences, I was no longer lying across my bed. I was inside the book. I was in their world. I was becoming the main character. And that's when my life began to change. So that's one of my other chapters. Y'all want me to keep going? I can read a couple more chapters for you all. I hope you all are enjoying the book so far. I wish I could hear y'all's voices. But y'all still on here, so it's letting me know that y'all enjoying it. So I'll read another chapter, and this one is when I finally talked to Rashad for the first time. I'm not going to read the full chapter. I'm going to kind of go through the chapter just so that you can kind of hear it a little bit. Okay, let's see. We're going to Hazel Park, yelled Aunt Cynthia. We were at my grandma's 3-bedroom townhouse as always. Aunt Cynthia dressed her infant son Corey while the rest of us finished getting ready. I had it all planned out. I was going to wear my favorite black sky blue short sleeve shirt, blue jeans, white bucket hat, and white K-Swiss. That was my signature when I was in middle school. K-Swiss or Reebok tennis shoes. That was when they were in style. As the music played, Grandma swayed back and forth across the kitchen floor, snapping her fingers along with the beat. Meanwhile, the other hand dipped into her hip as a lit cigarette dangled from her lips. The summer breeze from the open kitchen window carried the soulful music and our voices out into the neighborhood. While this was our usual kitchen routine, this time we were saving our appetite for the family cookout. Cousin Robert planned to get together with his girlfriend Monique and invited both families to a park near the river. I couldn't wait to go. It was a sunny Saturday afternoon. Where else would anyone want to be other than grilling out with family? This was the perfect way to spend the summer. By the time we finished listening to side A of the tape, we arrived at the park and saw my cousin Robert, his girlfriend Monique, and her family. Cousin Robert stood over the grill barbecuing pork hot dogs and beef burgers. People of all ages were everywhere, sitting in lawn chairs under a tree, playing card games at the picnic table, getting cold beverages from a cooler, and talking over loud music coming from someone's car radio. As I scanned the park, there were some people I knew, and some I didn't. Monique's younger brother, Rashad, was one face that I recognized. I remember seeing him at my cousin's apartment a year ago. Rashad was playing football with a couple of other boys in an open field of grass. I couldn't take my eyes off of him as he moved. He weaved between the trees and parking lot to catch the ball. He was shirtless. "I'm open, hit me, bruh," directed Rashad to a guy who looked a few years older than him. He stood in the outfield with his hands in the air, ready to catch the ball in action mode, but in my mind, he was moving in slow motion. Watching him jump to catch the ball, I paid close attention to his every feature. His tight chest, stomach, and the thick muscles in his legs and arms that glistened with streams of sweat. Well, that was until my daydream was cut short by the voice of a family member who yelled, "Good pass!" While the guys played football, I couldn't help but notice that Rashad seemed to watch me in between plays. I tried to hide my interest by turning my body slightly away from his view and joining my aunts in the conversation, but that still didn't stop us from sneaking glances, meeting eyes, and shyly turning away. However, while lost in conversation and half paying attention, Rashad caught the ball, ran toward me, and before I knew it, stopped directly in front of me. "Hi," said Rashad, smiling with the football under his arm. Caught off guard, I responded with a soft-spoken, "Hi." This was the first time Rashad had paid attention enough to speak to me. Aunt Cynthia rolled her eyes and looked away. Meanwhile, Aunt Tasha gave him the squinty side-eye while sucking her teeth while I quickly met her with a mind-your-business look. As they stared at each other in surprise and confusion by my quick and sassy exit with this little boy, Rashad and I drifted away toward a quiet place under some nearby shade trees before any questions could be asked. As we talked about our summer, Rashad and I locked eyes longer than our casual glances. Blushing with a big cheesy smile on my face, my eyes were extra squinty and my cheeks tightened like I had rubber bands stretching from one side of my mouth to the other, and everything was perfect until Rashad did the unthinkable. Before I knew what was happening, he lowered his head, grabbed the end of my untucked favorite shirt, and wiped the sweat from across his forehead, leaving a wet stain. Let's back that up and replay that. Did this boy really just wipe his sweat on me? I couldn't believe it. I was in disbelief, but my face must not have shown it because he was still looking up at me, smiling like he didn't do nothing wrong. I mean, don't get me wrong. He was cute and all with his friendly smile, puppy dog eyes, brownie batter skin that glistened under the sun. But forget all that. No matter how cute he was, that didn't mean he could just wipe his sweat on me. If he was anybody else, he would have caught these hands, but I hadn't seen him in a while, so I gave him a pass this time and let it slide. Consumed in our conversation, we lost track of time, and before we knew it, the day had gotten away from us. The orange sun was setting over the horizon, leaving a turquoise skyline as a blanket of fireflies lit up the sky like lanterns, and the sound of high-pitched chirping from unseen crickets filled the silent night. I imagined Rashad holding me like how Tupac held Janet Jackson in the movie Poetic Justice. I could daydream about us forever under those lights. However, my thoughts were interrupted yet again by reality. My mama's tight-lipped and disapproving face in my mind's eye. I wasn't supposed to be having these feelings and thought. I wasn't even supposed to be talking to a boy. Our little crush could only be just that, and through my cousin and his girlfriends playing family events. It would be months before Rashad and I would see and speak to each other again. Next time, the family get-together will be a wedding proposal. Go figure. They fell deeper in love and made life a little more complicated for us. Hey, y'all. How's it going? Y'all like it so far? So, again, this is my book, When Hip Hop Met Poetry. Yes, brownie battered skin. You got to use the senses. They got to be in there when you're writing a book. So, so this book is a true story. I did not. It took me a long time to tell this story. I didn't tell it until I published this book. So for a long time, I always just, whenever I would talk about my past, I would just say she overcame obstacles, she fought adversity, and that was it. But finally, I got a chance to tell my story through my book. I really, highly recommend that you all share your story, that you write your story too. I'm going to read a couple more chapters and they short chapters, but I'm going to read a couple of them because y'all still here, y'all. And I really love this story because I'm thankful that I've been able to heal from these experiences that I went through. So this one, skipping fast forward, I actually lost contact with Rashad. There were some things that went on in the book. As you can tell, I'm skipping over it so that you all can read the juicy details on your own through www.honeytreepublishingus.com. And you can also click on my website that, it's listed on my Instagram tag. So you can take a look at that. But this is when another little boy enters the conversation, okay? And it's because I lost contact of Rashad. Back then we didn't have cell phones, okay? So it was pretty much, if you don't call or if you lose somebody's number, you can't talk to them. So that's pretty much what was going on. So that's when I had a crush on somebody else. Okay. However, as many times as Rashad crossed my mind, my desire for him seemed impossible to materialize. We just couldn't keep in touch. I was in school, he was in the streets. Our lives were just too different. I had to move on. So while many boys showed interest in me, I ignored them. Not my type, but there was one boy in particular who caught my eye, Keith. I hated math, but Keith made it all worthwhile. He was my 9th grade crush. Keith was light-skinned with straight-back cornrows. He had a rough appearance, but he wasn't a bad boy. He was smart, sexy, and fine with a capital F. He was on the football team, but he wasn't loud like some athletes, stereotypical jocks who craved popularity and thought the world of themselves as loud, obnoxious, and self-centered jerks. Those guys were always after me, but they rarely had good intentions. I wasn't interested. Instead, I was attracted to the boys who were quiet, smart, and unnoticed. That was Keith. He was laid back, easygoing, and stayed to himself. I liked that. Whenever I walked by himself in the hallway or class, he always put his head down. His bashfulness softened his tough demeanor. He was rugged on the outside, but I could tell he was really a marshmallow for love on the inside. I wanted to know that sweetness. Keith reminded me of my summer crush, Rashad. Similar build and features, but Rashad was now in the past. Well, at least that's what I thought. The piece of paper with the faded pencil markings of his number written on it had come up missing and was long gone. However, the memory and feeling of Rashad still lingered. He struck a match and lit a flame in me. The fire that he started on that hot summer day was still burning. When I saw Keith, the flame flickered. He sat in a desk across the room from me, surrounded by a flock of friends. I knew most of them. They weren't my everyday crowd, but it wasn't nothing for me to join their group. We were from the same neighborhood. My circle of friends was small. Girls who quietly completed their assignments, read the latest books, hung out at libraries, and wrote poetry. But as I worked, I couldn't help but look over at Keith. I was distracted and couldn't concentrate to save my life. I could tell he was in the same boat too. His friends stood around him talking and laughing off task while he worked on the packet. Typical busy work that teachers give students so they don't have to teach. I devised a plan. If I go over there and join in the conversation, then I can talk to Keith. Sounded easy to me. So I made my decision, grabbed my math work, dipped out the desk, and walked over to the other side of the room where Keith was sitting with his friends. I quickly joined the conversation, added my 2 cents, and everyone laughed. While his friends were distracted by the joke, I focused on Keith. My little plan is working, I thought, smiling and drumming my fingers together while waiting for his response. Insert eyebrow lift here. He heard my joke, sat upright from the desk, leaned against the chair, and reached behind his head to fiddle with a braid. He had this big Kool-Aid smile on his face. Got him. But he was still looking down at his desk and not at me, though. Dang, look up, say something. I coached Keith in my thoughts. Oh, how I wished I could expose my feelings that were unknown to the naked ear. If only he could read my thoughts. But he was in oblivion. Although I was taught that the boy should speak to the girl first, I couldn't wait any longer. I wasn't sure if it was me or the little person sitting on my shoulder who always tries to tell me what to do, but all I heard was, make your move, Genesis, and that was all the encouragement I needed. I walked over to Keith and stood in front of his desk. Hey, Keith, I said sweetly. "Do you know how to do this problem?" I pointed to one of the equations on the paper. Keith looked up from his desk at me. It was the first time we locked eyes. He looked nervous and caught off guard. "Hey," he shyly responded, immediately looking down at his desk before continuing. "Yeah, you need some help?" "Yeah," I replied. "Move in," I heard the little voice on my shoulder say. I followed instruction. I found an empty desk next to Keith and scooted closer for us to work together. In reality, although I wasn't the best at math, I really didn't need any help with this assignment. I was a beast at solving algebraic expressions, and not only that, we were taking basic algebra with one of the easiest math teachers at the school, the type of teacher who always had snacks for students and weekly movie days. But a little damsel in distress never hurt nobody. I was getting pretty good at this. I mean, I was brave when I snuck on the phone to talk with Rashad, but this stepped my game up a notch. Long story short, it wasn't long before I got Keith's attention and we made it official as boyfriend and girlfriend. Mission accomplished, access granted, problem solved. All right. So that's when hip hop met poetry, y'all. So I'm going to skip through. I'm going to fly through so that you can kind of hear a little bit of, and that was a very quick and innocent little relationship that I was in when I was in the 9th grade. But this next chapter actually speaks to why I was specifically interested in a certain type of boy at the time. So this kind of speaks to that, and it's a flashback chapter, okay? Okay. After that night, Mama planned to start a new life without Daddy Kyle. Shortly after we moved out of our house and into a townhome. Despite reality, I still had faith and imagined that Mama and Daddy Kyle would get back together. These thoughts came particularly at times when he visited us. "Daddy Kyle's on his way to visit," said Mama. Even though they weren't together, he was our father and Mama never wanted to take that responsibility away from him. While Mama was cordial and straight to the point, when she talked to Daddy Kyle over the phone, it was a different story when he visited us. They still loved each other. You could tell by the way they embraced at the door longer than a casual greeting. However, while their friendship and love remained strong, what they had in the past was never coming back. Too much had happened, and despite the love that still lingered between them, when Mama made a decision, she stuck with it, and Mama had made her mind up. She wasn't going back on her word. I had hoped Mama and Daddy Kyle would get back together and for everything to be normal again, but I wasn't sure if it ever would. I guess some things have an expiration date, even in relationships. I was used to being I want us to be a family again was a thought that often came to my mind. I never said how I truly felt to Mama, but I didn't have to. She knew me like the back of her hand. "It's better this way, Genesis," she said, reassuring me after one of Daddy Kyle's visits. "He's still in our lives. You know your Daddy Kyle loves you." However, while some things didn't change like their love for one another, there was one thing that did. Daddy Kyle's freedom. I'm going to skip through a little bit of this, okay, so you can kind of hear some of what's going on. And let's see. Somebody just wrote, "Does it not stay innocent?" It is innocent for a little bit, but then it does change. The storyline does change a little bit. So I'm going to read this last chapter, okay, and then we'll open it up for some discussion. Okay, so let me skip through here. All it took was one text message conversation, and we were back talking like nothing ever happened. I was in the 10th grade when we made it official as girlfriend and boyfriend. Since I was still not allowed to even talk to boys, Rashad and I had to sneak to do everything, and we were really good at it too. Summers off from school, winter break, during school hours, after school hours, Saturdays, we always found a way to be together. There was no place he wouldn't travel to get to me. We mastered the art of sneaking. One particular day, I waited for Mama to pick me up from the old school building where I attended a youth program. That was where we met in secret. Everyone had left the building for the day except for me and a security guard who monitored the building. Mama was always late picking me up between customers at the salon, but that was okay. The extra time made it easier for me and Rashad to see each other and be together. Rashad often walked more than 10 blocks from home to sit with me at the old school. It was just me and him. Although a security guard was there, that didn't stop us from making the school our little sanctuary. We held hands while roaming the dark and vacant building all by ourselves. Our voices echoed through the empty hallway. Our shadows stood like giants, hovering over us across the tall beige walls into the ceiling. Whether we were walking the hall, sitting in the auditorium seats, waiting on the front steps, or standing in the school parking lot, we were there. Even though Rashad dropped out of school, he still could have been in the program. I encouraged him to join. It was open to all teenagers, but he wasn't interested. While I hoped that one day he'd change his mind, I had big city dreams. I'm going to college to become a famous reporter and film director, I said confidently. I had it all figured out. I was every bit of 15 years old and had my entire life ahead of me. I knew something great was on its way. God, passion, drive, and dedication would get me there. Rashad never really had much to say when I shared my dreams and goals with him. Even though he said he was proud of me, I could tell my aspirations bothered him by the dark and faraway look in his eyes. I didn't know what it meant, but I didn't look too much into it. Rashad was not like the other boys around me, at my school and in my programs. He had an edge to him that made him more interesting than the others. That's why I liked him so much. Can you backflip? I asked Rashad. We stood in the back of the school building in an empty parking lot. I always liked a cute boy who could backflip. Like most of the boys in the hood, Rashad could do the inherent hood shenanigans. To him, it was a normal thing that kids could do, but to me, he had a special gift. Kind of like one of those things that every bad little boy can do. You know, the ones who flip their eyelids inside out to show the pink flesh and red vessels while chasing and terrorizing all the girls. I was always one of them, running and screaming, "Eee, that's nasty." But knowing if he could backflip was all that I needed to like him even more. Yeah, he answered, nodding his head. And that's when, right on the spot, he backed up from where he was standing and went into 2 backflips without using his hands to touch the ground. His shirt lifted up over his head, revealing his flat belly and smooth and defined chest. I was falling in love for the very first time. Okay, everybody. Thank you all so much. I'm going to open it up for some questions if you have any questions. I am going to actually do another version, or not another version, but another live, IG live, and continue this. I'm going to do it on Thursday at the same time, and I'm going to talk about it. I'll post about that so that you all can know and add it to your calendar if you're not doing anything. But I'll read a little bit more on that day. So I wanted to just kind of, and thank you all so much for your comments. I'm going to look through here. I appreciate your comments and the laughter. Thank you all so much for your comments. So does anyone have any questions? Let me see. Is there a way for me to, if y'all want to join in too, I can join in. Yeah, I know, right? The E flipped inside out eyelids are so nasty. So anybody, y'all have any questions for me? And I'll just kind of wait. Y'all can kind of type it in the comment. And if you want to join me, I can do the additional screen. Would y'all like to hear one last chapter, which is the climax of the book? Did he backflip with it? Hold on, Mama. I don't know what you just write. Did he backflip handsome without hands? Yeah, this is a romantic book. It is a cautionary tale, so it starts off as a romantic book, but it turns into a cautionary tale because it talks about the different red flags that you should look for in certain relationships. Okay, so one question is, did he not use his hands? Oh, no, he didn't use his hands to touch the ground. He did 2 backflips. So he did 1 backflip, and then he did another backflip without using his hands, which was really cool. And I thought that was awesome. Yeah, Mama, that's what I was watching boys backflip, and I wasn't supposed to. I'm sorry. I learned my lesson. And then, how do you have such good grammar? Oh, thank you so much. I just, I love writing. I love writing in African American English because it is an actual language. I also love to write in standard or American English as well. And so I just read a lot of books. A lot of books that I read allow me to, be able to write in a variety of different ways. So I would say definitely read more books, different types of books, academic books, books for school, books outside of school, fictional, all of that, because that would definitely help with expanding your your vocabulary and working on writing in a way that allows you to describe a scene in a way that puts you there. Whenever I write a sentence, I always think, is this an award-winning sentence? Is this an award-winning sentence? Is this sentence, like a movie? Like every sentence needs to feel as though you are in a movie. So that's kind of how I think about that. Are there any other questions before I read this final chapter that creates a lot of chaos, and it pretty much shifts the book into a completely different phase? Okay, so I'll read this last part, and then from there you do have skills in writing. You definitely have skills in writing. Just keep writing, keep practicing, keep reading. That reading, I'm telling you, it really does help with expanding your vocabulary and expanding your the way that you can write a sentence and set a scene. Okay, so this one is, let's see here. Crazy situation goes down, and it completely changes the whole scenario. So let's see here. Where is it at? And again, if you want to learn more about my books, you can go to www.honeytreepublishingus.com. You can always purchase a book there. I do deliveries. I also mail the books off too. So, whatever works best for you. I also have a cartoon series that goes along with my children's books, Sweet Pea and Sugar Tea's Country Family Adventures. So just letting you all know about that. I do a lot of motivational speaking as well, and then I go to a lot of schools. Okay, let's see. There's some questions. Thank you. One says, I love the description. Puts you right in the book and scene. Thank you so much. That's my girl, April. Hey, sis. Thank you. Will you leave us on a cliffhanger? Yes, I'm definitely leaving you all on the cliffhanger. Yes. And that's what this last chapter is going to be, the cliffhanger. Would you recommend this book for high school students? Absolutely. This book is for teenagers, for middle school students, starting at 13 years old and up. Okay, so a lot of adults buy this book because it is an urban love story. It is a coming of age story, starting when I was 13 years old to 19. So it covers that part of my life as being a memoir. So I do recommend it for high school students. It is in some high schools. It is in every library. You would have to reach out to your library if they don't have it to get it. So it is available in like the local libraries, but if it's not there, for example, you would have to request it. Okay. And like I said, you can always order the book. You can order it through Amazon also, and through Barnes and Noble. Okay. And let's see. Another question. I love reading and read my words. I love reading. Oh, awesome. I'm glad you love to read. Yes, we need more readers out there. Okay, so I'm going to finish with this last chapter, and it gets crazy. August 25th. Before we left the house for Mama to drop me and Christopher off at our respective schools, I reminded Rashad to follow my instructions carefully. I was very clear. Do not make any noise, I said. Remember not to leave the room until you hear my mama close and lock the door. Yup. It's exactly what you're thinking. Okay. Rashad agreed. The plan was simple enough, but even a tiny glitch in the system could cause the whole thing to come crashing down, which was why it was so important for him to follow directions. However, Rashad chose to divert from the plan. After he heard my mama leave the house, he unlocked the bedroom door, grabbed a plate of food from the kitchen, and returned to my room to watch the family comedy, Meet the Parents, just the right movie for the occasion. Rashad had gotten sloppy with the plan. He wasn't being watchful and cautious anymore. Instead, he got comfortable with the routine, and that's when all hell broke loose. See, although Mama had left to drop me and Christopher off at school, he didn't realize it, but she had returned home and invited her twin sisters over to celebrate their birthday. They were in the basement salon talking and watching an all-time family favorite, a Tyler Perry Madea movie. However, as they watched the movie, Mama's keen sense of hearing kicked in when she heard rustling upstairs. Y'all hear that? Mama's eyes searched the ceiling. No, replied Cynthia, who looked at her sister puzzled. What are you talking about? I don't hear anything. I don't either, replied Tasha. I just heard something fall upstairs, Mama said, looking back up at the ceiling. It's probably just the pipes, explained Cynthia. She always thought her sister was a little paranoid, but Mama wasn't giving up that easily. She continued to look at the ceiling. See, Mama knew exactly where noises came from based on where she was in the house. Her senses were always on point. No, I know I hear something, said Mama. It's coming from Genesis' room. Cynthia and Tasha looked at each other confused. They still didn't hear anything, but they knew their sister had a strong sense of discernment. So when Mama heard the noise coming from our room, all three of them went upstairs to check it out. Tasha grabbed a butcher knife from the kitchen, Cynthia grabbed my color guard flag from the living room closet, and Mama grabbed all she needed, her fist that was straight out of Detroit. All three of them stood outside of my bedroom door. By that time, Rashad had already heard footsteps coming up the basement stairs and quickly found a hiding place. Standing at the locked bedroom door with weapons drawn, Mama picked the lock and opened the door. Their eyes thoroughly searched and inspected the room. A plate of half-eaten leftover food sat in the middle of the floor and a movie was playing. They walked over to both bedroom closets. Aunt Cynthia opened one of the closets and jabbed through the clothes with a flagpole. Nothing in there, said Cynthia. They walked over to the final closet and slid back one of the doors. Clothes were bunched on the shelves, hanging up, and a pile of clothes lay stacked on the floor. Cynthia went in again, jabbing through the clothes and beating up the clothes with the flagpole. Well, if there's anyone in there, then they got beat the hell out of, said Cynthia. They all laughed while standing at the closet until they saw one of the hangers suddenly move and the pile of clothes on the floor shake. Oh, shh! It's the S word. I didn't want to say it because I know I got students over. Yelled Tasha, someone's really in there. They were ready for whatever was about to go down. Whoever was in there was about to get laid out. With weapons drawn, they prepared to defend themselves. Mama grabbed the side of the closet door to slide it back until she heard a voice coming from inside. Wait, yelled the voice. It's Rashad. What the hell? Yelled Mama. She quickly slid back the closet door, and there stood Rashad, half-braided, bare-chested, with jeans and apologizing. The room grew smaller as Mama's body grew twice her size and transformed into something similar to the Incredible Hulk with a deep voice. Get out of my house, yelled Mama, who picked up an object to hit Rashad. Cynthia and Tasha slowly backed up against the wall, withdrawing their weapons. Their sister pretty much had it covered. Lifting up from getting hit, Rashad stood upright and balled his fist like he was about to do something. He was bucking up to the wrong Mama. She was not to be tested. What you gonna do? Asked Mama. Rashad had no other choice but to loosen his fist. He knew not to swing. Instead, he attempted to grab his keys on the table, but Mama snatched the keys before he could. These are not your keys. These are mine. Now get out of my house. Putting on his shirt, Rashad grabbed his shoes as fast as he could, but Mama had already called the police, and they were on their way. Frantically, Rashad rushed towards the bedroom door to leave, but Mama had another escape route in mind. No, not my door, ordered Mama. Out the window. Get out the way you came in. Climbing out the window, Rashad ran down the street. By the time the police arrived, he was already long gone. Tasha stared blankly into space and shook her head in disbelief. How long has he been here? She asked as her voice trailed off. I don't know, said Mama, but I'm asking Genesis as soon as I pick her up. All right, y'all. So this is a cautionary tale. This is a true story. It is a cautionary tale because there are experiences that I went through as a teenager that let me know that there were red flags in the relationship that I was in. I shouldn't have been in a relationship. I shouldn't have been sneaking around with this little boy. We, thought that we knew everything, and I wasn't listening to my mom. And a lot of really, harmful and hurtful things actually happened, but I was able to survive it. And I learned from it too. I think that we can all learn from the different experiences that we go through. I don't think anything that we go through is a mistake or we should feel regretful for it, but I think that it's a learning experience. So that is my book. That is the cliffhanger that you all wanted. And let's see, if y'all have any other questions, just let me know. You can type it in, or we can join. Like I said, I can join this with you. And let me see what time. Okay, yeah, we're doing good on time. So we got about 5 minutes. So if y'all have any questions, just let me know. I'll wait for a little bit. And like I said, I will do another reading on Thursday. So on Thursday at 12 o'clock at the same time, I will do a post on one of my stories. And I will just let you all know that I will have, that I'll be reading a few more chapters from this particular book. And the film, it covers a lot of what's going on in this book. I have actors playing the role of, the different roles of the characters. Actually, everybody who is in almost everybody who's in the film, they are JCPS employees. So they are either teachers or they're counselors, which is really cool. So the teacher of the year is actually playing the police officer in the movie. And so we have the police officer, we have the character of Rashad that's in there as well. So any questions, anybody, before I end? So did Rashad actually come through the window? Okay, that's a great question. Ooh, okay. No, he did not come through the window. He actually came through the back door. Okay, so we ended up getting very creative with how he was able to come through the back door. So yeah, that's what happened. It was bad. He actually, the reason why I invited him into the house is because he was homeless at the time, and I felt like I loved him, and I didn't want him to be on the street. And he was in and out of different families' households, and so that was my thinking at the time. It was not the right decision. It was not the best decision, but that's what happened. So yeah, that's a great question. No questions for me, but I love your voice and style. Thank you so much, sweetie. Well, thank you all so much. If there aren't any other questions, you can follow me. Y'all already on IG. I'm on Facebook, Tatiana Wells. Also on www.honeytreepublishingus.com. Thank you all so much for watching. So excited. And I'll look forward to reading more with you all on Thursday at 12 p.m. Thank you all so much and have a wonderful, blessed day. Make sure you all are taking echinacea, selenium, vitamin C, high alkaline food, all of that. Smoothies. Just stay safe, okay? Thank you all so much for watching and have a blessed day. See you.